Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope that you guys are having a great day. And today we're going to be discussing how I evaluate quarterbacks in Madden 19. This is going to be a pretty short video, as they've been here recently, and this one's going to be a pretty quick, easy one on how we want to look at quarterbacks and the best way to, I think, evaluate quarterbacks in Madden 19 and build an effective quarterback that you can use whichever way you want. So there's a couple things that we need to discuss in terms of quarterbacks. They're not a very complicated position. I mean, there's only one spot it can be, and primarily everybody understands that you want your quarterback to be able to throw the ball, and you probably want a little bit of mobility for your quarterback. But that doesn't tell the entire story. So if you look through the NFL, you're going to find three different types of quarterbacks, and I'll show you kind of the differences between each of them. So here on the Panthers, you have a guy in Cam Newton who is primarily a runner. I mean, you look at the guy, he's got 85 speed, 88 acceleration. He's going to have good running abilities. He's got good throwing on the run. He's got good break sack ability. He's got good carrying, elusiveness, all these different running stats, almost as if he's a running back. So he's got, ball carrier vision, juke move, spin move, just about anything you could want out of a guy that you're going to be running the ball with quite a lot. And that shows in his stats, and that's how you would use a player like this in Madden, is you would try to use them to throw the ball, but you would also use their mobility to kind of be a key for your team. So as you can see with Cam Newton, throughout his career, he has a ton of rushing yards in each season. 700 his rookie year, and then he goes and peaks 754 in 2017 and stopped running a little bit after that, and I haven't had a chance to use him as much this year because he got injured for 6 weeks out of the year, but doing a nice job having a ton of yards per carry, having some rushing touchdowns in the season, even having 256 yards, even though he's been hurt for the majority of the season. So there's that type of quarterback, and that's the type of quarterback that a lot of people like to use, especially online versus other opponents, because it just adds a threat that's really hard to defend. It forces your opponent to either use the quarterback or put in a quarterback spy, which kind of frees up other areas on offense where you can either have somebody get open in the passing game, or it frees up makes somebody easier to be blocked when you're trying to run the ball. So a lot of people try and run a dual threat quarterback, a guy that's primarily able to run the ball very well and is fast enough to try and get past linebackers and stuff like that. And that's kind of where you're at with that 85 speed, is most linebackers are kind of in that range, so you would be able to keep up and if not get past them with a speed rating like that. Now there are guys that are faster, that are like true running quarterbacks that have, massive speed, and that's almost all they can do. A guy, and this isn't taking a shot at Marcus Mariota, but I think Marcus Mariota is actually a decent passer in the NFL. I just think that doesn't necessarily have the talent around him that is necessary, so he relies a lot on his rushing abilities, and he's got 88 speed, 90 acceleration, so tremendously good rusher. And then there's the true rusher in the NFL, like Lamar Jackson, who literally can't throw the ball, or hasn't proven yet that he can throw the ball much in the NFL at an NFL caliber, and he's just got crazy-ass rushing stats, and that's why he's decent. So 94 speed, 95 acceleration, stuff like that. So just crazy stats. And that's kind of where all of this comes from. So that's your rushing style quarterbacks. But then there's guys that are in the middle. And let me go in and see if I can find somebody that I think is probably pretty close to being in the middle, where I think they would be. Somebody that has a little bit of mobility. Somebody like Sam Darnold, perhaps. But I would say even maybe more like a... who am I looking for? Carson Wentz is the one I'm looking for. So Carson Wentz is a good example of a guy that's maybe a little bit of an in-between. Carson Wentz is a guy that his pedigree is a tremendous thrower. He's a tremendous thrower, a tremendous threat in the passing game, in which he has all these good accuracies and everything, but he also has above that 80 speed threshold, so he's going to be able to outrun defensive linemen. So what that's going to do for this type of quarterback is, for the most part, he's going to be sitting in the pocket, but he's almost going to play like an Aaron Rodgers type of quarterback, or what Aaron Rodgers kind of has morphed into, in that he will get mobile, get out of the pocket to find open receivers and to create better passing lanes. And if he gets into a sticky situation where he's about to get sacked, then he'll take off and run for like a 5-yard gain. He's not going to have crazy rushing stats. He's not going to be juking, spinning people out necessarily all the time. And he's not going to be running people over like Cam Newton would. So he's kind of a more of a passer and a run second type of option. And then the other type of quarterback in the NFL, as we all know, is Tom Brady, a guy that is a true pocket passer, and the guy that came before him that you could think of would have been Eli Manning. Guys that don't have a ton of mobility, you don't expect them to get out of the pocket much, if at all. And their points are primarily focused on the passing game. I mean, you're going to look at guys, 99 accuracy, 96 accuracy, and the fact that he only has 61 speed, and he doesn't have, I bet, any type of juke move or spin move. Yeah, as you can see, terrible in those categories, terrible elusiveness, carrying, all that. Those don't affect his rating because his accuracies are so high. So those are the three different types of quarterbacks. You're going to have the true pocket passer. You're going to have the pass first but run ability type of quarterback is how I would describe them. And then you're also going to have the true runner. Now, I think that the ideal thing for most people is actually going to have somebody that's a little bit in between. And I would say you would want to try and model your player after a guy like Carson Wentz. And you don't even necessarily have to have that good of a stats, but here's just running through the stats going across here, here's what I would be looking at when I'm developing a quarterback. So if I go to Carson Wentz and just click in and look at his ratings, the things that would stick out for me, primarily physically, would be I would want 75 or better speed. If you have 75 or better speed, then that's going to kind of get you to a point where you'll feel comfortable, at least just rolling out a little bit. You might be able to get past some defensive ends. You might be able to get like a 5-yard gain here and there if you're scrambling or something like that, or if you're in trouble. But that's going to be kind of the threshold that you're looking for. Somewhere around 80 would be kind of ideal. You know, you're not trusting this guy to have a ton of rushing yards, but you can use him that way if you need to. Now, the other things that kind of matter for this is acceleration. Acceleration obviously is going to affect how quickly they can take off. So anything above what the speed rating is, the acceleration is going to help. As you can see, Carson Wentz has 87, so he can take off pretty quickly. He just doesn't have a high top speed. So that's going to help, but that's not necessarily something that's super important. If you had 75 speed, 75 to 80 acceleration is going to be just fine for you. It's not going to affect you too much because you're not going to have a top speed that you really need to get to. You're going to be up to top speed pretty quickly because you don't have a big top speed anyway. So for a guy like this that we're trying to mold our guy after, carrying is incredibly important, and having different, stiff arms or trucking or spin move or juke move is incredibly important. That 72 juke move that you see down there, or the 78 elusiveness, isn't really going to do a whole lot for you. The elusiveness might help you break a sack here and there, but you don't really want to depend on your guy to be able to break sacks. You want to either avoid the sacks by throwing the ball and getting the ball into the right areas, or you want to avoid the sacks by just picking up a couple yard little scramble or rolling out of the pocket and throwing the ball away, whatever it might be. Your focus is on just having a little bit of mobility, and that's through that speed stat of being at least a 75. That's where I'm coming at with that. And then the other stats that you want to look at for quarterback, and this is on any quarterback in my opinion, unless you are truly a run-first type of quarterback and you don't care a whole lot about the passing stat, is you want to have at least 90 throw power. 90 throw power is necessary in Madden because you have to be able to fit the ball into tight spaces before the corners have an opportunity to jump the ball. If you don't have that 90 throw power, the ball's going to travel there very slowly, and it's going to give defenders time to react. Now, there are some good running quarterbacks in the NFL that you can use as pure runners that don't have good throw power, and those are guys like JT Barrett and stuff like that you could definitely excel with, but don't expect to throw the ball into coverage and have your guy come up with it, because it's going to give the defender a lot of time to react. So you're going to look for a minimum of 90 throw power, and then you're going to look for really anything above a 70 is workable in all of the different accuracy categories. Now, I noticed that my quarterbacks miss a lot of deep balls if they don't have at least 80 deep accuracy, so that's one you do want to pay attention to quite a bit. But unless your guys are getting up here into the categories like Carson Wentz has of like 85 or above in accuracy, they're going to still miss passes. So, if it's somebody that's young enough to develop, the accuracies aren't going to matter a whole lot, because most of your training points and skill upgrades are going to go straight into the accuracies. When you upgrade a player at quarterback, they're going to be upgraded on their accuracy stats. So that's kind of something that can be worked on and not something that's incredibly important for you to find right away. Now, the throw on the run stat is a little bit important to me, because I believe that, if you can get your guy rolling out, stuff like that, you can create a lot of better passing lanes. You can draw defenders up to you to create more passing lanes. So that throw on the run stat is something that I like to focus on. These are the two stats that I think are the hardest to really work on and develop the way that you want to, is the deep accuracy and the throw on the run stat, because the only way for you to develop the throw on the run stat, I believe, is to upgrade the quarterback in the mobile quarterback or scrambler scheme, and then that's not going to upgrade the other stats that you want. So for the most part, I try and find somebody that has at least a decent kind of throw on the run and deep accuracy. That way I can at least work with it, and I don't have to focus on upgrading those stats. I can upgrade the other accuracies. And for me, I try and recommend that everybody, if you're not great at Madden, you just start doing short passes and get used to timing on those passes, and that's when medium and short accuracies are going to come into account. Your medium and short accuracies you're going to want to upgrade pretty quickly, because then you're not going to be missing those throws quite as easily. Now, I find that awareness doesn't matter a whole lot. Awareness for the quarterback position it's one of the few positions that it doesn't matter a whole lot, because you're controlling that player the entire time that they have the ball. So the awareness awareness essentially affects how a player does their job whenever they're in a simulation type of mode. So like when you're on defense, you have 11 players, but you can only control one of them. So the 10 players that you're not controlling, their awareness stat is going to affect how well they do their job while you're not controlling them. Well, since you're always controlling the quarterback when you're using them, the awareness stat it's null, it's void, it doesn't matter. And I haven't noticed that it would affect anything. I've had it turned all the way down to 50 on a quarterback, and as I'll go and show you on my team, I have Josh Dobbs, who has terrible awareness, but I had a whole bunch of passing yards with him, and I actually played better with him than I did with Cam Newton. As you can see, his awareness is a 66, but if I go in and show you guys the stats on him, he played really well, because it's not about, I'll show you here, 743 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So really good stat line there, 117 QBR. So it's not something that really, the awareness doesn't affect anything. And I think a lot of people do think that the awareness on quarterbacks affects things. The awareness doesn't matter. All the awareness is going to do is boost your overall stat, which if you're experienced in Madden, you'll start to realize doesn't matter. Once you start to figure out the individual ratings on quarterbacks that matter, you'll understand that the overall rating does not matter. Don't pay attention to the overall on quarterbacks. Pay attention to these specific stats. Like I can show you here on Josh Dobbs and why I play well with him. He's got 91 throw power, which means he's hit that threshold, and then he has decent accuracies across the board. He struggles with deep accuracy, which is okay, but he's got 79 throw on the run, which is kind of about where I want him to be, because I do roll out with him. I try and get passing lanes open and everything, and I do occasionally run with him, so I want him to be able to throw whenever he's getting mobile. So those are the stats that really matter for a quarterback. I don't find that play action matters a whole lot. I don't find that play action plays really work very well for me in this game. There are occasions where it does, but it's either the defense is falling for it or they're not. I don't see a whole lot of times whenever the play action stat actually affects anything. And then the other two stats that do matter a little bit, but will kind of just progress as you go, is break sack. Break sack matters if you're really intending on trying to scramble around and stuff. I don't focus on it because it just seems to happen randomly. You can't really program breaking sacks. It's just kind of into your quarterback. You can't build it into your quarterback. It just seems like, every quarterback I've ever used has broken sacks at times. So it just kind of depends on how they're getting sacked, how they're getting hit, and stuff like that. But then the throw under pressure does kind of matter. It affects how easily and quickly and effectively the quarterback's able to deliver the ball whenever they're being hit or whenever they're about to be hit. I think that stat is important, but that one will develop over time as well. So as you can see, I have a 72, but I'm doing effectively well with Josh Dobbs. But the things that you can see with Josh Dobbs, even though I have 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, I have like 800 yards, I have a crazy QBR with him, I have the stats that matter. I have the above 90 throw power. I have, above 80 speed, good acceleration, and decent stats all around in the other categories. So he just plays pretty well. He's somebody that's usable for me, and he's somebody that would be usable for you guys. And similar to that, I find similar guys like that to be Danny Etling. Go check out the other video that I put up on the channel of sleeper quarterbacks here in Madden, because I have a ton of those usable quarterbacks in here that are low overalls, they're cheap, and you can upgrade them pretty quickly and get them up to be a franchise quarterback because they're just usable. They have the stats that you need. And honestly, the thing is that like Cam Newton, for example, he's an 88 with confidence. He misses passes just as often as Josh Dobbs does, because unless a quarterback is getting into those high accuracy numbers, they're still going to be missing passes. So, like, until you get into the Tom Brady numbers where you're above a 90 in all these different categories, you're going to be missing passes quite a bit. So that's the thing that really matters, is that you just need to give yourself time to develop and focus on the physical stats more than anything, because you're going to be able to develop that guy, and you're going to miss passes regardless. Your quarterback's going to throw incompletions. So I hope that this video helped you guys, and I hope that you guys take into account how I evaluate quarterbacks, and maybe that'll help affect you guys and help you guys understand kind of what matters with quarterbacks, and depending on what type of play style you choose, how exactly you're going to go about building your quarterback. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Feel free to like the video if it did help. Subscribe to the channel for more, as always, and comment down below with any feedback that you have. Let me know what video you guys would like to see next, and I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out.